So it's time to update my spreadsheet. We're going to update that with the Yield Max ETFs that did pay out this past week. And I'm also going to update it with the number of shares that I did purchase to find out what my new real price per share will be. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to take a look at my spreadsheet and we're looking at Rev 4. And actually this is 4.1. This is still in process. I have not actually released this one yet. I've still got a little bit of cleanup work to do. But in the Rev 4.1, this will contain a total of 30 slots for you to be able to create your own individual sheets, enter in the number of shares you do purchase and your distributions, and it will populate that into the summary page here so that you can track each one individually. And then it will also contain the close position tab here, where if you do sell out of a certain ticker, you can capture that on this page, and that will be added into this green number right here. And that's your total loss and gains of all of the open and closed ETFs. So if you appreciate this type of content, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button. So before we get into this, if you would like to get a copy of this spreadsheet, you're more than welcome to come over, join the Discord, where you'll be able to get a copy of this spreadsheet, and it will be blank so that you can enter in your own ETFs that you are tracking. And to do that, of course, you can go straight to the individual sheet. You'll enter in all of the entries here, and these are your purchases or sales, and then your individual distributions will enter into this table. It will calculate it all for you, and then it will give you your real price per share, which is the adjusted price per share. And then all of that will populate onto the summary page here for you to easily see where you're currently at in each of your positions. So by filling out each individual sheet, it will populate the summary page so that you can track your own individual ETFs that you are invested into. So again, to get a copy of this, join the Discord. The link will be down in the description and in the pinned comments below. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on in, and we're going to start right off with Coney. And of course, I do have the links to each one of these that does take you to the individual stock tracker sheet itself. Just by hovering over that ticker symbol, then you click the link and boom, there you go, right into the individual stock tracker sheet, where you can then enter in your purchases and any distributions you have earned. And for Coney, I did purchase a few more shares. So we'll just scroll right on down here. And for this one, it was on 12/31. The price that I did purchase it at was $40 even. And I purchased a total of 12 shares. So by purchasing under my real price per share here, that will lower that real price per share. So it's currently at $51.09, but by purchasing 12 shares at $40, that's going to change that real price per share to $49.73. So each time I do purchase under that real price per share, it will lower it. But we also got a distribution on Coney, and I've already entered in that distribution amount of 0.43 cents per share. And how many shares do I have? Well, it shows I have 98 shares, but is this distribution eligible for all 98 shares? Well, that's the reason I enter in the X date here, because that tells me I must own those shares before this date. Okay, if it's not before this date or if it's on this date, I cannot account for those shares. So that distribution X date is January the 2nd. And since my last purchase was December the 31st, I can't account for all 98 shares. So I can enter in 98 right here. And this is going to lower my real price per share from $49.73 down to $49.30. So I am still currently down on this one, but I'm only down 13% because the current price of Coney is $40.41. And moving on, we have Platy. Now, Platy, I have not purchased any additional shares here, but I do get to enter in that distribution of 51 cents. And how many shares? I've got 37 shares. So by entering 37 here, that's going to change my real price per share from $2.66 down to $2.15. And I have an estimated payoff time of about 4 more distributions, utilizing the average of about 62 cents. Okay. Now, granted, it was 51 cents this past distribution, so it may take a little bit more than 4 more distributions. It could take 5, maybe even 6, right? But that gives you an estimated payoff period. It just gives you something to look forward to. At a $2.15 real price per share, that means if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of $48.62, I will make $1,719. So in my books, I'm doing pretty good with PLTY. Moving on, we have Nvidia. For Nvidia, we earn 14 cents. I have a total of 71 shares, and my real price per share of $12.38 now becomes $12.23. And with the current price of $14.62, I'm setting okay with this one as well. Next, we have Alti. And for Alti, I did make a purchase with Alti. I purchased these shares on 12/31, and I bought these at a price of $37.73, and I purchased 13 shares. Now, you can see that my real price per share of $39.88 is above that $37.73 purchase. Therefore, that real price per share will decrease. And that's the whole idea of the reason why I do not purchase unless it is under that real price per share, because I want to lower that at all times in hopes to stay up with the current price. If it does go down, it could offer me an opportunity to buy. But if it trades sideways, I'm still able to lower because I do earn those distributions. But with that purchase of 13 shares at $37.73, my real price per share of $39.88 now becomes $39.38. Okay. And now I get to enter in a distribution as well. And how many shares can I count for that distribution? Do I get to count all 56 shares? Well, let's take a look. So we have that X date of 12/31. I purchased those shares on 12/31, and that's those 13 shares we just entered in. But I have to own those shares before the X date. So that 12/31 on that X date means I have to own those shares before that date, not on or after, but before. So I cannot account for these last 13 shares that I did buy. So I must subtract 13 from that total of 56, which is going to give me 43 shares. So I can account for 43 shares for this last distribution. So my real price per share of $39.38 now becomes $39 even. With the current price of $37.54, I am still down on this one, but I am only down 3%. So if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I will lose $82. Not too bad at all, considering I have a total of $2,400 invested. And moving forward, we have Misty. And for Misty, I have a total of 95 shares. I enter in my 95, so my real price per share of minus 4.76, which means that's how much I am in the good for, right? Minus being under the 0 point. So this one here is paid off, but let's just see how much I can grow this real price per share to. So at minus 4.76 now becomes minus 5.16. So that is increasing. And if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I would make about $3,300. So I'm doing okay with Misty as well. SMCY. For SMCY, I did make a purchase on this one, and I purchased these shares on 12/29, and the price that I did purchase them at was $8, $9.20 per share, and I purchased a total of 50 shares. Now, with my real price per share being $9.13, since I did buy under it, it will lower this $9.13. So those 50 shares at $8.20 lowers my real price per share to $8.86, which gets me even more closer to that current price of $8.41. But I also get to enter in a distribution. And once again, how many shares can I count for that distribution? All shares before January the 2nd. All my shares that I have purchased were before January the 2nd, so I get to account for all 170 shares. So I enter in 170 shares for this distribution eligibility number, and my real price per share of $8.86 now becomes $8.76. Yes, I am still at a loss on SMCY because if I were to sell all my shares at that current price of $8.41, I will lose 3.6%, which is about $59. Not too bad, right? And if this price for SMCY does move back up, then I can continue lowering my real price per share with those distributions and hopefully get below that current price and turn this red SMCY to green. But moving on, we have AMDY. And for AMDY, I have 164 shares. So my real price per share of $31.95 now becomes $31.57. And with the current price of $38.93, I'm sitting pretty good with this one as well, because if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I'll make $1,200. Not too bad. And for YMAX, I have a total of 758 shares and that real price per share of $7.81 now becomes $7.70. And as you can see, whether YMAX here goes up, down, or sideways, I'm continually to drop my real price per share, even just by earning those distributions. Now, I would not want to purchase more shares of YMAX at the current price because buying them at $10.06 will raise this $7.70 real price per share, and that goes against what I'm trying to do because I want to stay in the positive on these ETFs. And eventually, I would love to get it paid off, which means all the way down to zero for that real price per share. And what that means is I have earned enough in distributions to cover the total capital that I have invested, according to those number of shares that I do have. And that's how that adjusted price per share or real price per share is calculated. But if I were to sell out of YMAX at the current price, I'm going to make almost $1,800. Not too bad at all. And on Hui, since it was red on my summary page, I did purchase more shares of Hui, and I got those shares on $12.29. I bought them at $49, and I purchased 11 more shares at that price. Now, my real price per share being $49.84, that's not going to lower that real price per share much. I did purchase under it, right? Because I set that buy order at $49 so that if the price did drop down to that price, it would purchase those 11 shares. And it did. And if you can see, it actually went down to about $47.57 here. So it actually went down below it. And this could be another chance for me to purchase more shares. But since I did have that order, it went through at 49. And since it is still under my real price per share, it will lower it. But since it's so close to that real price per share, it won't lower it by much. But it will go down. And that real price per share will drop from $49.84 down to $49.71. So it did go down, but not by much because it was so close to my real price per share. But currently I am still down on Hui, as I am about 4% down. And if I were to sell out of Hui, then I would lose about $151. And I have a total of about $3,700 invested. So a loss of $150. is well within my risk tolerance. But we do get to enter in that distribution as well on Hui. And how many shares do I get to count? Well, anything before January 2nd, and all of my purchases are before that. So I get to enter in a full 71 shares for this distribution. And that real price per share of $49.71 now becomes $49.13. And as you can see, I am still lowering that real price per share each and every week because I earned those distributions. So now, if I were to sell out of Hui, I would only lose $111, right? Because I did earn those distributions for that entry. And moving on to QDTE. For QDTE, we earned $1.72 for this week. A very nice distribution. And I have a total of 155 shares. So my real price per share of $24.98 now drops to $23.26. A very nice drop in QDTE. Because with the current price of $30.75 and my real price per share of $23.26 means that if I were to sell out of all of my shares of QDTE, all 155 shares, I would make $1,160. So for this one, I'm still in the good. IWMY, we earned 11 cents on this one. I have a total of 551 shares, and my real price per share of $16.25 now becomes $16.13. And if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I will make $2,055. Love it. QQQY, we earned 13 cents. I have 551 shares of this one as well. And my real price per share of $20.80 now becomes $20.66. And at that current price of $23.55 means if I were to sell all my shares, I will make $1,593. WDTE, we earned 18 cents. I have 540 shares. And that real price per share of $27.24 now becomes $27.06. Like I said, I'm continually to drop this on down no matter what that current price is doing. Whether it's going up, sideways, or going down, I'm always lowering my real price per share because I earn those distributions and I'm not dripping them right back in. Because if I was dripping them back in, I would be purchasing them at $31.67. And I don't want to do that because that is going to raise my real price per share. And that's just kind of counterintuitive what I'm trying to accomplish with my method. And next we have JEPQ. Now for JEPQ, I did end up purchasing some shares. Now I know I do not normally purchase if that price per share is above my real price per share. But for JEPQ and the new one I'm going to be entering, I'm playing these a little bit differently. Because the stock charts on these seem to want to go up and to the right over the long term, then I don't mind reinvesting into these even if the price is above my real price per share, because I can grow that and just earn those distributions. And that could be some good passive income over the long term. So for JEPQ, I did make a purchase on January the 2nd. I bought those shares at $58.13 and I purchased 8 shares. So my real price per share of $3.16 is going to increase, right? Because I did purchase above that $3.16. I purchased them at $58.13. So that is going to increase. But like I said, for JEPQ, I'm seeing this one as more of a long-term ETF. Now, I could be wrong, and this is not financial advice, but that's how I'm going to play JEPQ. So my real price per share is going to increase from $3.16 to $11.15. But I do get to enter in a distribution, and I get to enter in a total of 55 shares. And how many shares do I get to enter in for this distribution? Well, the X date is December the 31st, so I can account for all shares before the 31st of December, Well, this last purchase was on January 2nd, so I do not get to count those 8 shares as part of that distribution. So I must subtract 8 shares out of my total number of shares of 55, which will give me 47 shares for this distribution. So that will change my real price per share from $11.15, and that's going to bring it down a little to $10.66. But if this one here, JEPQ, and the next one I'm getting ready to enter in, if they can continue on for years to come, then this could just be some passive income coming into my account so that I can use that money and then purchase shares of whatever stock I want. It's income coming into my account, and that's fresh powder, right? That I can then deploy into other stocks or ETFs. And that's the idea here. But in the end, even if I want completely out of JEPQ, even though I did raise my real price per share, if I were to sell all 55 shares of my position of JEPQ, I would still earn $2,600. So I'm still in the good, but I'm looking for a long-term deal on this one. And that takes us to our new one. And my new one that I have is DIVO. And the stock ticker is DIVO. And as you can see, when I enter that in, it does give me the name of the stock or ETF along with that current price. And this is basically what you would do if you were entering in your own stock tickers to track your positions. You would have a blank sheet like this where you would enter in your ticker symbol, and then you're going to enter in your purchase, because that's obviously the first thing that you have done if you did open a position. And I purchased these on 12/30, and I got them at $45.30. And I purchased a total of 12 shares. So therefore, that is my initial entry into DIVO, and that gives me a real price per share of $45.30, right? Because I have not earned any distributions or anything on it, so there's nothing to counteract what that actual purchase share average is to the real price per share. They're going to be the same because I do not have any distributions entered into this one yet. Now, there was a distribution that did pay out, and it came out on 12/30, and that distribution amount was 0.953397. And how many shares can I account? Do I get to count those 12 shares? Well, if you look at those dates, and this is the X date of 12/30, I have to own my shares before 12/30, but I purchased them on 12/30, so therefore I do not get to account for any of those shares for this distribution. So for this one here, I was 1 day short of getting that distribution. So how many shares do I enter in here? 0. I get to enter no shares into this distribution amount. Wish I could have, but I can't. So that will keep my real price per share of $45.30. And that is my new entry of DIVO. So now that we've entered in that new stock ticker, let's go and check out the summary page, and let's see what the new real price per share is for each of those entries, along with seeing if it did pick up this new stock that I just entered, DIVO. And to get back to that summary page, we can just hover right over this, click that link, and we're right back to the stock summary page, and you can see it has updated all of that information. And if we slide right on over where JEPQ was the last one, it now shows DIVO. Very nice. So as you can see, I now have 15. I had 14 and now I have 15 because I entered in DIVO. So out of these 15, I have a total of 5 ETFs that are red. The rest of them are green and in the money, right? Meaning that if I were to sell any of those that are green right here, then I will make money off of that position. And with those updates and the addition of DIVO, if I were to sell out of everything and including my closed positions, I would make $17,254. not including any taxes, of course, and that's up to you and your accountant to figure out the taxes in your area. But you can see I'm sitting pretty nice here, right? Because the ones that I am down on, I'm only down 1.3% on DIVO, 2.95% on HUI, 3.6% on SMCY, 3.31% on ALTI, and of course the big one that I'm down on is Coney at 13%. So overall, sitting pretty nice, right? Because the other ones that I am up on, it's 76, 9, 29, 9, 12, and so forth. So if I were to sell out of all of these positions, you can slide right over here to the very end, and it will show that closing out all of the open positions, I would earn $17,007. But including those closed positions that I did close previously, that does take me up to earning $17,254. Okay, so that's the difference between the two there. And the ones that I did close, I can show you those real quick right here. And here's one I did close, and this was BIGY. I closed and earned $87.87. And this is the amount that I did enter into that closed position tab. SOXY, SOXY, I earned $137.47. In XDTE, I earned $24.70. Now, all three of these positions I did close. I did not have many shares in each of these. As you can see, XDTE only had 5 shares. SOXY, I had 9 shares. And for Biggie, I only had 11 shares. So all of these were pretty small positions. So I did want to clean up a little bit. So I did go ahead and just sell out of these. Now, anytime that you do close the position out, so when you change this from open to closed, it will give you a new button right here, and it'll say to go to the closed position table. Okay, and you can hover over that, and when you click that, that will take you to the closed position table here to where you can enter in those amounts. And all it is your ticker symbol, the date that you did close it, and then how much did you make or lose. And of course, if it is a loss, you would do a minus for this value. It will calculate the total amount in this column, and then it will add it to the summary page into this box here and add that up so that you know how much you would make in the end by closing out all your positions, including the ones you did close previously. So that closed position tab, that is a new thing that I did add. And like I said, once you do close out of one of your positions here, that is changing this position status to a closed. That will highlight this button here so that you can then go right to the closed position table and you'll enter in the amount that you did close and earn or lose at the end of that position so that you can carry it on through. Now, if you do not want to carry that on through, then of course, when you go to the closed position, you just don't enter it in, right? That's your choice. If you enter it in here, it will add it in. You don't have to. You could just keep the summary page as the ones that are currently open and not include your closed positions. But if you would like to get a copy of this spreadsheet, come on over, join the Discord. The link is in the pinned comments and in the description below, where you'll get your copy of this spreadsheet. And of course, once you do join and you click that link, it will be a view only type sheet, and you'll probably see this tab here at the very beginning. So it just shows you exactly how to make your copy so that you can enter in your own information and your own stock tickers. The one that you'll actually receive that is shared is a view only. You must make your own copy. And right here's how to do it. You just hit the file, drop down, make a copy. You can name it whatever you want and make note where you're saving it to so that you can go back to that sheet and keep track of all the positions that you are invested into, and all of it will be done for you for the most part. Only thing you have to do is enter in your purchases and your distributions, and everything else, for the most part, is done for you. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, as it would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.